So in the universe next door, James Sire describes a worldview as a commitment and a matter of the heart. He goes on to describe it as a fundamental orientation of the heart, or in other words, the way the heart is relatively positioned or directed. What he means by a worldview being a commitment is that a worldview lies within the deepest parts of what it means to be a human being. He takes a biblical perspective of the heart and applies it to this circumstance. He then goes on to elaborate on the portion describing the worldview as being expressed as a story or a set of presumptions. He makes it clear that a worldview is not inherently a story or a set of presuppositions, but a worldview can be expressed as such things. He explains this by saying, if and when he looks back on where he and the entirety of the human race have come from and where we are headed, his worldview is being expressed as a story. I can kind of see like what he's saying here, like he is looking at what has happened in the past and where we are headed now, and looking at those things as expressions of what like people have believed and how they framed or oriented their hearts and how they rely on a worldview. He makes sure to include that these presuppositions or assumptions that express one's commitments may be true, partially true, or altogether just false. He does say there is a way that there are, or as I understand it, an objective truth, but he does go on to say we are often mistaken about what the objective truth is. Reality, as he states, is not endlessly plastic. He explains this by using a chair as a representation of reality, saying a chair is a chair whether people recognize it as a chair or not. He then finalizes his definition of a worldview with being a foundation in which we live. He states that a worldview lies so deeply embedded in our subconscious that until we take a long look or reflect on what our own worldview is, we can kind of remain in the same place. We can even remain blind to what our worldview is. And we can completely be unaware of what our worldview is, or that we even have a worldview that is different from others. He then goes on to explain that even though someone may know what their own worldview is, they could be wrong about they could be wrong about there being a possibility of them being wrong themselves about what their worldview is. So, thank you so much.